It's okay to not know how to do it. Of course you don't. That doesn't mean you're not capable of doing it. It just means you don't know yet. And number two, everyone who's ever done it felt the same way as you do right now. They all started by not knowing how to do it. And number three, everyone who's done it, I promise you, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't luck, and it wasn't just talent. Hey, it's Rory Vaden. Welcome back to part 3 of our mini-series on conquering impossible goals. I'm sharing with you, or attempting to introduce you to a system that has changed the entire trajectory of my life, from literally being born into a trailer park to becoming an internationally recognized speaker, a New York Times bestselling author, exiting an 8-figure business as an entrepreneur, and just being a part of really amazing teams or really amazing organizations, and accomplishing several of the dreams that I've had, but also coaching other people through achieving their dreams, and at this point now having conducted several hundred interviews on my various podcasts that I've had, diving in and understanding the secrets of how the world's ultra performers and multipliers, these top 1%ers, what do they do that is different, that helps them conquer impossible goals, these huge things that for most of us we would say, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And that's what we've been talking about in this series and introducing you to this process. And in the first training, we talked about the power of the picture. In the second training, we talked about the power of programming. All right, and we talked about where programming comes from and why it matters. But if you can get yourself past those 2 points, I know for sure something is going to show up. And here's what's going to show up. The problem is going to be, okay, Rory, now I know what I want, and now I'm working on believing that it's possible, but what do I actually do? Like, how? At some point you go, well, I don't know how. Like, I literally don't know how. I've had this problem, right? I said, I don't know how to get a full ride scholarship. I don't know how to become a black belt. I don't know how to become a world champion of public speaking. I don't know how to become a New York Times bestselling author or an 8-figure entrepreneur. And guess what? Again, if you have that thought, like, I don't know how, you're in good company. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're just like every other person who has ever accomplished that same impossible goal or impossible dream that you're having. Because guess what? None of us know how. When we first start, like, none of us know how. Nobody knows how. Like, Michael Jordan didn't know how to shoot a basketball. Like, Tiger Woods didn't know how to swing a golf club. Even the greatest of the great of the all-time performers or entertainers or athletes or business people or whatever, even politicians and lawyers and accountants and every single profession in the world. Of course you don't know how. You've never done it. But that's a stupid reason to think to use for why you can't do it. You don't know how? Well, duh, you don't know how. None of us know how. But here's the thing. Somebody out there does. Somebody out there does know how. Somebody out there has done the thing that you're trying to do. They have. Or if not, like if you're trying to be the first, Roger Bannister and be the first person to run a 4-minute mile, somebody out there knows how to run a 4:15 mile, right? Somebody out there knows how to do it. And so this is the third part of breaking through and conquering impossible goals. And again, it's so simple, but it's so profound that so many people miss it. It's professional education. Professional education. That is the third part, right? And look, I know it kind of seems like, well, Rory, isn't this kind of obvious? It should be obvious, but it's not obvious. what happens to most of us is we have this instinct like, oh gosh, I would love to do blank, or I would love to break this record or do that goal, or I'd love to buy a beach house, or make enough money to like retire my spouse, or send my kids to private school, or whatever it is, right? Like, we're not judging anybody's dreams. Like, they're all great dreams if they're for you. And maybe you want to start a foundation, like maybe you want to solve some big problem in the world. But all of us, doesn't matter what industry or sector, profit or non-profit, the immediate thoughts are the same once we set an impossible goal. Like, the first one is like, I can't even see it clearly. So you got to paint the picture. The second one is I immediately dismiss it because I think I don't believe it, that it's possible. You got to work on your programming. The next limiting belief that will show up, it will, I promise. It happens to me every time. Every one of our clients. Look, we have done one-on-one coaching for thousands of people, okay, between our two companies, our former company that we exited and our new company. We have done one-on-one coaching for thousands of people. We know this is what happens. We study this, we see it, we walk people through it. It will happen. And if you don't have a plan for it, like if you don't understand what's going on, you'll immediately dismiss this dream or this goal as possible for you. So here's what you do, right? Like, you have that thought, okay, Rory, so maybe I could start working on believing it, but I still don't know how. Go get professional education. Now, I'm not saying go back to school. I mean, it might be go back to school, but typically that's only going to be the answer if you want to be a doctor or an accountant or, a lawyer or some very specific trade, right? For the most part, where it's going to happen is you're going to learn through personal development. You're going to learn from somebody else who has done what you're trying to do. And there is somebody out there that has done it. And the people who have done it, after they've done it, guess what they want to do with their life? They want to teach other people how to do it. It's the natural course of things, right? I remember spending my last dollars. Well, let me tell you this principle. So one of the great pieces of advice I heard was from a friend of mine early in my career. His name is Randy Gage. And Randy Gage, this is what he said to me. He said, Rory, you have to always be the number one investor in your own dream. You have to be the number one investor in your own dream. So many times the problem with entrepreneurs, right, is they want someone else to invest in their dream. They want someone else to give them the money to do it and to do the work of their thing. That's not how it works. You got to be the number one investor. And that means whatever money you have is got to go to that thing, and whatever sweat you can put in, it's got to go to that thing. But your dream, you are the number one investor. And I remember him telling me that. And then one of the things I realized, this was one of my early 20s when I wanted to become the world champion of public speaking. And that was my dream early on, was I wanted to speak in front of thousands of people, right? I'm living my dream in real life today, but back then it was impossible. I mean, it was so unrealistic. It was so in the clouds. I had no idea how to do it. I'd never met anyone that did it. I hadn't been trained how to do it. And and so I started to learn, and I started to ask questions, and I started to realize, oh, other people have done this. There's education, there's professional education. And one of the things I knew I would have to learn was how to be funny. I knew I would have to learn how to be funny on stage because I wasn't funny. I didn't understand the psychology of humor. And there was a guy named Darren LaCroix who I found, who was teaching this class on how to be funny. And I think at the time it was like, it was like $1,000 for the class, and and with the travel expenses and everything to get there. And I'm telling you, I took the last dollars I had in my account to go to this training with Darren LaCroix to learn how to be funny. And going through that class, I learned, he started to teach this system, right? And that started me on a whole journey of learning the psychology of humor. It's one of the things, we actually have another class now called World Class Presentation Craft, where we teach people, the true secrets of being an amazing presenter. And Darren was one of the people that I got professional education from. And I thought you were either born funny or you were not. But Darren helped open my eyes to that there's actually psychological triggers to why people laugh, and there's structures and things you can do, mechanics that you can deliberately create that cause a laugh to happen. And it opened my eyes because he had done it. And that's what you need. You need professional education. You need personal development. You have to be willing to be the number one investor in your own dream. And the fear is always like, oh, I'm gonna get scammed or something. But that is such a self-limiting belief. I can tell you, one of the reasons that I have earned more money than most of the people that I've ever met in my life is because I have spent more money on education, starting with college. Even though I had a full ride scholarship for both grad and graduate school, I got an MBA, I still had to pay all my living expenses, right? And so I had to pay a lot of money in books and fees and living expenses to get myself through college. And then all the personal development. I'm talking, and this blows my mind to this day, right? Like I'm in one mastermind that's $25,000 a year to just be in the mastermind. I've spoken at masterminds where it's $60,000 to just be in the mastermind. And the thing that blows my mind is you would think that the people that come to these events and the people who buy courses and the people who join masterminds and the people who invest in personal development, you would think it's the people who are just starting out that don't know anything and it's the ones who really need it, that they're the people who would be there. That's kind of what you would think. But the more I've done this, the more I've realized the people who go to self-help conferences, in a lot of cases, are not the people who need help. They are the top producers. They're the number one performers. They're the top achievers. They're the industry leaders. Like, it's not the needy people who go to personal development. It's the successful people, which is crazy because you go, oh, I get it now. That's why they're successful. That's how they got to be successful. They freaking learned. And who did they learn from? They learned from other people who had done what they had done. And that's the power of professional education. So yes, of course you don't know how to do it. It doesn't mean there's not a way to do it. And it seems harder than it is. Like it seems more complicated than it is when you don't know it. But once somebody who's done it teaches it to you, you realize, oh, the reason they were able to do it is because conquering anything, achieving anything, doing anything is based on a set of fundamental principles. It is set on a fundamental principles. But you have to be willing to learn them. And that means you're going to have to invest to do that. And I have never invested into a book, a course, an event, a conference, a mastermind, a group. Like, I've never invested money into personal development that I didn't get at least my money's worth back in one great idea. And in most cases, I got 10 times to 100 times back, because it would have taken me 30 years to figure out something that somebody who's done it can teach you in a few hours. And it changes the course of your life. And the more you do it, it compounds on itself and on top of itself and on top of itself. So the thing I want you to just realize and know right now is it's okay to not know how to do it. Of course you don't. That doesn't mean you're not capable of doing it. It just means you don't know yet. And number two, everyone who's ever done it felt the same way as you do right now. They all started by not knowing how to do it. And number three, everyone who's done it, I promise you, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't luck, and it wasn't just talent. Even the most talented people in the world, I promise you, they learned from coaches and trainers and people who had been there, a set of principles and skills and tactics that they could develop. It applies to everything. You just have to give yourself permission to do it, and you have to be willing to be the number one investor in your own dream. And again, this is one of the reasons why we have put together a 2-day experience with me and our team called Conquering Impossible Goals, because we're going to walk you through this whole process. The process that we teach is the process of success in anything. That's what we've done. We've tested this in all different industries and environments and places around the globe, and talked about it and spoke about it and done research about it. And we know something about the systematic process, the general process that anybody can use to help them achieve whatever matters to them. Because just like there's specific trade skills you have to learn, there's a general set of skills. There's a general process for achievement and for success in anything. And this is something I've spent my entire life studying and experimenting with and learning about and researching. And we've packaged it up. If you go to roryvaden.com/CIG, you can read about this whole 2-day experience, because we're gonna do it with you. We're gonna do it while you're there in the event. We're gonna take you through the process. We're gonna do the exercises. We're gonna explain the principles, and then we're gonna make you do it on the spot while you're there. So there's no getting out of it. Which, by the way, leads me to what I want to talk about in the next video training. Okay, so I got another free video for you coming up, which is part 4 of this free mini series about conquering impossible goals. And here's what happens. Again, we know this happens. It's like universal. This is what's going to come up. All right. So first, it's I don't know what I want, so I create the picture. Second, I don't believe that it's possible, so I got to work on my programming. Third, I don't know how to do it, so I have to get professional education. Once you do those things, the next thing that's going to show up, here's going to be the problem. The problem is going to be consistency. The problem is going to be getting yourself to actually do the things that you've learned to do, getting yourself to follow through and keep going. That's going to be the problem. And if you could solve that problem, you're done. Like, if you can solve that problem of, I know what I want, I can get myself to believe it's possible, I can learn what to do, and then I can get myself to do it, you can do anything, right? It's that simple. You can conquer the impossible. But in this 4th video, in this next video, it's really important, because you need to know this is coming for you. You probably have already experienced this in some part of your life. You get excited about some vision, some goal, some plan, some New Year's resolution, something, and then you start out and then it breaks down. Why does it break down? Why am I so excited about something, but then I can't follow through? What's wrong with me? What is wrong with the process? I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with you, but there is something wrong with your process. And the people who follow through, there is something that they do consistently that makes all the difference. In the next video, we're going to talk about what it is. So if you're interested in checking out this live event experience, right, go to roryvaden.com/CIG for Conquering Impossible Goals. You can read about it. We'd love to have you there. And regardless, even if you're not, come back for part 4 of this training. We're going to talk about how to get yourself, what is the missing ingredient to get yourself to follow through on doing the things that you've learned to do, but you can't seem to get consistent with. So make sure you stay tuned. Watch out for the 4th part. I'll see you soon.